Hey guys, Bowie here, and this is things I learned with Fear's mid KUNKKA in 7.12. I already have a video about mid KUNKKA's laning phase, so I won't dwell too much on it. Basically, remember to have an easy way to turn your Tidebringer on and off. Pay attention how Fear cares more about the range creep deny there than the melee CS. By turning it off, he manages to get both without hurting creep equilibrium and also missing the chance to get denies that he otherwise would struggle. It's important to notice that when two range creeps start piling up, he actually uses the Tidebringer. The lane is pushing very hard now, and the last thing you want is to get dove or take too much creep harass after the lane pushes to your tower. By doing it, as soon as the creeps meet pretty much, he will have another CD to get the range creep deny, which is the most important part of the hero. Getting experience advantage while also harassing even range mid laners. OD ends up playing pretty well though, and he ends up not being able to get it. Another important part of mid KUNKKA as you get more levels is utilizing your Tidebringer efficiently. In this clip, OD is quite weak, and as Fear walks to get a CS, Dark Willow shows up with Curse Crown. Fear knows that OD will try to follow up, so at this stage, the most reliable source of damage that he has is Tidebringer, so notice how he walks back to the creep and hits it, hitting OD as well. That almost gets him a kill while also making sure there's no follow-up on the Dire side. This game is fairly weird in the sense that Fear as a mid-hero has very little kill potential. Nyx counters every single spell on KUNKKA, OD can always Astral himself to dodge the combo, and Tidehunter has Kraken Shell, making him pretty hard to lock down, which means that no rotation on a core is really reliable until Tiny has a Blink Dagger or Nyx has Vendetta. Knowing that, it's important to see how Fear plays accordingly. Here's the deal, Radiant rotations are hard, so farming gets more desirable, right? Yes, but at the same time, pay attention how he makes sure to grab rune after rune after rune. Dire actually has skill potential on him if they get those runes, as well as Lark and Phoenix. So while he did push mid before going to farm this medium camp, he doesn't farm it completely just because he doesn't want to give any chance for Dire to get the runes. In fact, thanks to that rune, and the fact that his Lark is playing pretty aggressive, which means that Tide is not level 6, ends up yielding them a kill, since Tide was already pretty low HP. He does pop SL, but without Ravage it's fairly easy to get him. And the pattern continues. He knows he cannot get kill stop, but makes sure to grab every single rune in the map, while shoving lanes and farming camps, while no big fights happen. Rune time incoming, shove waves, get the rune. His Nyx ends up finding a kill here, but it's just a support and the stalemate continues for a long time. While you might feel like KUNKKA is a great team fighter, do not push fights that are clearly impossible. This hero can farm pretty well, and as long as you keep your buildings, you deny runes, and you get extra jungle CS, you're doing fine. He awkwardly walks bottom, but it's clear how hard it is to engage on Tide. It's also worth noting that he did not bother fight top against Lifestealer when his tower fell down, and he did not pressure any towers. It might bother you, but Dire has insane setup with OD Astral, Nightmare, Curse Crown, so what he really needs is Tiny Blink Dagger, his Nyx with good setup, or Dire grouping on one lane so that he can force another one or TP to fight. This finally happens when Lifestealer, Tide, and Willow group up bottom, and he pushes mid a little bit, and when a fight starts to break out, he goes in. When you're in a 5 versus 5 scenario like this, more often than not, it's just better to bolt towards your allies and give everyone the run buff than getting the best combo possible. And it ends up being a 2 versus 3 until his Lark overextends, killing Fear as well. But what I want you to realize is how Fear plays afterwards, knowing that every single relevant ultimate is down. He pings the tower, telling his teammates to go get it. Even when you lose a fight and it looks grim, taking a look on all the ultimates used and trying to squeeze the best out of the map can yield you a lot. What ensues is a 2 versus 1 trade while getting the most important tier 1 tower off the map. Fear's next item of choice might confuse you. Most players when they play KUNKKA mid, they go for Blink Dagger or Delos after Armlet. In this game, Fear already has 2 big right click cores, and he is against a position 1 and 2 that pretty much only right click. I'm not saying that Halberd was the only right choice, but they don't like damage, and at the same time, Blink Dagger doesn't really allow him to get solo kills on cores because, as we already talked about, KUNKKA doesn't do anything against those heroes. There's another point that will be shown in a teamfight soon, and it's about the burst damage from infast ganks. While KUNKKA is relatively tanky, if he cannot pop Armlet or ult, he can be burstable, and Halberd really helps in that regard. Since they have Nyx plus Tiny with Blink, they are not in dire need of initiation. Fear can always follow up when they go for ganks, and Tide quickly melts her. Fear gets Blink Dagger after the Halberd because it's really good at pushing waves, and pushing waves safely is everything in Dota. For instance, in this clip, Dire would love to smoke gank and go for an infast lifestealer gank, but Blink Dagger allows Fear to be super pesky as long as he has some idea of where Bane is to avoid the Nightmare cancel. Unfortunately, 2 of his allies end up dying regardless, allowing Dire to rosh, but again, look how Fear can keep on pushing waves, and while Dire gets something, their team relies way too much into an infast Ravage situation, and that's not easy to do if your lanes are pushed because smoke ganks are easy to read. They get the Aegis, but again, look how the lanes being pushed really hurt Dire. Fear was top, and he goes for the X play to push another wave, but note how he doesn't use Blink Dagger to go in. His X location is not the safest, and since the X callback animation is faster than Bane's Nightmare animation, as long as he knows that Bane is not in the high ground, he can easily come here, not only pretty much taking the wave down, luring Dire all the way back. But since he X's back and only then blinks away, it's almost impossible for Dire to find him. While he gets Blink Dagger, in my opinion, the next fight's MVP is the Halberd. Keep watching. Radiant is playing quite defensively here, and the infested Tidehunter shows up. Fear has no time to turn Armlet on since he's too old. But since he has evasion, Armlet, and note, not only he doesn't get bursted, but he leaves and Lifestealer dies. Remember that Armlet gives 400 HP and 25% evasion, which clearly helps surviving that engagement. It's also great to stop people from attacking the Phoenix Egg, and we will see more about the Halberd, don't worry. For most of the game, Fear kept cutting waves and being annoying, since as we already discussed, there's not a lot of kill potential on most heroes there. And while he was doing that, Dire had a tough time forcing fights, and Radiant is already 10k gold ahead. They smoke right after that fight, and pay attention how beautifully Old Man Fear uses his Halberd. They try to engage on OD, fail, and a lot of people, I feel, as Lifestealer's rage is about to end, would be spamming Heaven's Halberd on the Lifestealer, and that's not what Fear does at all. Also note how he attacks the Tomato instead of Lifestealer. This will deal more damage to the heroes 99% of the time, because Cleave doesn't care about armor, but this is not the relevant part here. Rage ends, he commits X the entire combo, but never the Halberd. This baits Lifestealer in, since his rage is about to get back, but that was all a bait from Papa Fear. As rage is back up, Lifestealer is far from home, he's disarmed, and he dies. I want to touch on the creep thing that we talked about. A lot of people not used to carry KUNKKA, even when they get a lot of farm, they feel pretty underwhelming when playing the hero, and one of the reasons for that is that they don't use creeps to deal damage in late game situations. While Fear didn't focus that hard on the explode people build with rapiers and a lot of data loss, understanding how to deal the highest amount of damage possible is useful regardless of having a rapier or just a crystallis. Basically, Dire wanted to rosh, but since Radiant pushes waves so effectively and Dire doesn't rosh super fast, they just decide to group up and get a tower. Fear has a double damage, and note how he plays every time he goes for the X blink thing. Before we get there though, this won't be mind-blowing or get 900k views like Dota what the fuck, but this is how good KUNKKAs get those one-hit rampages that you see there. He doesn't find the crit, he goes back. Notice how the damage is insignificant if you try to right-click a core at this stage. You can still cleave other people for a lot of damage, but killing the frontliner with one hit is one of the reasons KUNKKA is that good in late game scenarios. When Dire keeps on diving, note that he avoids the creeps, and that's pretty much because of the root. At the end of the day, he wants to damage the cores as much as possible, so it's fine if Bane takes less damage. He got very unlucky though, 0 crits in 3 attacks, and while Dire is repelled, no during the clip. I just want to talk about the creep importance one last time. Radiant starts pushing and fighting in the bottom. As Fear approaches the fight, notice that Tidehunter has no Ravage, but will very soon, and also note that all his allies are low HP. So instead of going in first with the X, he casts the ult to try and save some of them as his Torrent lands. And knowing that Ravage is still off cooldown, notice how he goes for the creep once again instead of a hero. That's a Bane down. This time there's no creep, so he attacks the Lifestealer. Even though it deals little damage, it kills Willow, and the fight progresses. Creep wave is about to respawn again, so note that even though he has Blink and the Axe, he doesn't go in immediately. He torrents and only then finds a creep to attack. And by being aware of the Ravage cooldown, he dodges it, goes in again, killing Dark Willow one more time, and with a beautiful X torrent, takes Lifestealer down once more. Well guys, this wraps up for today. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. This is the only way to really know if you guys are enjoying the content. This video is sponsored by Pvgna. Those guys have a huge library of videos where you can find content about any hero and tutorials updated to 7.12. Want to know what's going on with my life? Follow me on Twitter. Want to see some crispy casts or want to see me playing Dota? Follow me on Twitch. By the way, there will be an Arcana giveaway at the end of this week, so be sure to watch some of the stream to farm crisps and then buy the raffle tickets. Want to get spoilers about the next video? Follow me on Instagram. I'll always post spoilers there. Or if you want to talk about Dota with people that care about the channel as well as the Dota scene, Discord channel is here. If you're from Brazil, I have a Facebook page, you can look it up. And that's it guys, thanks for watching, bye.